My name is Rod,
I'm Oliver.
and today will be the fourth episode of our podcast on the New York City subway system. This episode will be about the Broadway Lines, that's the N, Q, R, and W trains. I hope you all enjoy this episode.
So to start off the episode, we'll have some service pattern information about each of the four lines. So first we'll talk about the N train, which runs from Astoria Ditmars Boulevard in Queens to Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue in Brooklyn. It runs local along the Astoria line in Queens, crosses the 60th Street Tunnel into Manhattan, then runs express down Broadway, crosses the Manhattan Bridge into Brooklyn, and express along 4th Avenue until 59th Street, then local along the Sea Beach line to Coney Island. Next is the Q train, which runs from 96th Street, 2nd Avenue in Manhattan, to Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue in Brooklyn. It travels local along the 2nd Avenue line in Manhattan, express along Broadway, goes over the Manhattan Bridge, then runs local along the Brighton line to Coney Island. Next is the R train, which runs from Forest Hills, 71st Avenue in Queens, to Bay Ridge, 95th Street Station in Brooklyn. It runs local along the Queens Boulevard line in Queens, crosses the 60th Street Tunnel into Manhattan, runs local along Broadway, and again runs local along 4th Avenue in Brooklyn. Last is the W train, which runs from Astoria Ditmars Boulevard in Queens to Whitehall Street South Ferry in Manhattan. It runs local in Queens along the Astoria line, crosses the 60th Street Tunnel into Manhattan, and runs local along Broadway. Note that the W train does not run during late nights or on weekends.
Oh, and so now it's time for some attractions along the Broadway lines. So I'm going to start with the part of the subway map where it's the N and W trains near the north part. So this is going to start at Astoria Boulevard Station. And here, just a short walk away, there's the Astoria Park, which is widely known for its beautiful pool, which you can hang out during the hot summer days. And then it's also the oldest and largest park in this part of the city. Astoria Park also offers more than aquatic pleasures. It has an outdoor tennis courts, which is my good friend Silver would enjoy. And then we have it has a track, a bandstand, multiple trails, basketball courts, playgrounds, and many views. Sitting on it sits on the edge of the East River, and it rests between the Triborough Bridge and Hellgate Bridge. And the park offers shoreline sights and sounds that make benches along its perimeter a popular spot all year round.
So next stop that's important is Queensboro Plaza, which is a transfer point between the N and W trains and the 7 train, and uniquely at Queensboro Plaza, it is the only station where you can transfer across the platform between a numbered train and a letter train.
So the next station after that will be 5th Avenue / 59th Street Station.
In Manhattan now.
Yeah, in Manhattan. And here you have, once again, the man, the myth, the legend himself making another appearance. You have Trump Tower, where, Trump is doing his things. And you also have the Plaza Hotel, which is an extremely famous hotel. I believe it was in
Home Alone.
Yeah. And if you want to spend a night there, you just have to sell an arm and a leg, and
it's a lot of money.
And you're good. You're chilling. Those are the main two attractions there. Then after that, you have I'm gonna pass over the Q train, the north part of it, because there's not many. It's mainly residential, and there's not that many attractions. But one thing to note that is it was the newest portion of the subway, and it was opened in 2017. But otherwise, the north part where it does before it merges on the 57th Street, 7th Avenue. That's where the N, Q, R, and W all merge. Before that, it's not that. There's not that many things to do. Also, on 57th Street, 7th Avenue Station, there's Carnegie Hall is like right outside. I know we mentioned in a previous episode that there's other stations in which you could go to Carnegie Hall, but maybe this station might be a little better if you want to get there a little quicker.
Yeah, and additionally, the R train, which we have not mentioned yet, it starts at Forest Hill 71st Avenue in Queens, and it shares all of its tracks with the M train in Queens. So if you want information about attractions along the R route in Queens, you can check out our episode on the 6th Avenue lines.
Yeah, exactly. So then the train passes through Times Square and Herald Square, and Times Square, cool. That was mentioned before, I believe.
Yeah.
In an episode. If you like big billboards, I guess.
Big billboards. Some there's an M&M store. What else they got there? There's a soccer store that my brother likes to go to.
Wait, your brother plays soccer?
No, he doesn't play soccer, but he likes collecting the jerseys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I never knew that. All right. All right. Anyways, we have after that we have 23rd Street, which is where the Flatiron Building is located. The Flatiron Building is a historic building that is shaped like a Dorito, or you can say
or
triangle,
a triangle,
but I like Dorito better. And as of currently, as this podcast is being recorded, the building is being auctioned. And there's actually another auction date that will take place tomorrow, May 23rd. So
if you want to buy the Flatiron Building,
yeah, you just need a mid-bill?
Couple million, probably a couple $100 million actually.
Yeah. But hey, there you go.
It's all you.
It's all that's your purchase right there. And you also have Madison Square Park, where you have an OG Shake Shack, and Oliver, our resident Shake Shack expert, will attest.
My former employer. Very good burgers. Bit pricey though, I will say.
Yeah, dude. $20. That was atrocious last time.
It was a lot.
But anyways, there's also horticulture. Horticulture and sustainability are kind of like two sort of bigger values of Madison Square Park. And it ultimately it's like a cool park to hang around.
Yeah, it's a nice spot of green in that part of Manhattan.
Yeah, exactly. So next on our next stop is 14th Street Union Square, and Union Square always has like a bunch of events going on. You'll have the holiday market. You'll probably have a farmer's market in the summer.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a hub of that sort of part of the city. And I would just say keep a lookout on either the website to see what's going on and if it's something you'd enjoy to do. And after that we have 8th Street NYU. This is the NYU station for the main campus. I mean, if you're going to NYU or
you're visiting,
this is like probably the station you want to get through, though. There may be other stations in the area that you might want to.
This is the main station, but there's also a lot of other stations around the area, such as one station on the 6th train, and also the Washington Square Park station, West 4th Street on the 6th Avenue and 8th Avenue lines.
Mm-hmm. So the next station is Prince Street Station, where you have, I think, my favorite attraction along this line, the Museum of Ice Cream.
Yum.
So anywhere from $25 to $68, depending on what type of ticket you are. I know they have a VIP ticket, which is on the higher end, and that has more perks. But you get admittance into the museum, and it's unlimited ice cream. It's basically a playground, right, where you can have fun as well as have ice cream whenever you want.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next point. Oliver, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
What is my favorite flavor? Shoot. I really like cheesecake flavored ice creams. Yeah, like...
Really?
I was at Cold Stone the other day, and they had...
Cold Stone is so good.
Cold Stone is very good.
I think the best chain ice cream store is Cold Stone, without a doubt.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
True.
But anyways, continue.
Yeah. And then... Next up, we have Canal Street, which is the last stop before the NQR&W split up. It's near Soho, south of Houston Street, which is a fancy high-end arts and shopping district / neighborhood. And also Chinatown. We've talked about this. Chinese food is very delicious.
Go burr.
Yeah. Dumplings, dim sum, noodles, whatever you're into, you'll definitely find it.
You have to go to Chinatown once, I think, if you're going to New York City.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that. But anyways, continue.
Yeah. Also, the Museum of Chinese in America is nearby.
Mm-hmm. It's basically a museum about, Chinese in America, hence the name. But I think it's supposed to show off Chinese culture, Chinese
Yeah.
immigration culture, I guess. As you move into, as they immigrated into New York City.
Yeah. So after Canal Street, the N and Q trains split and they cross the Manhattan Bridge to get into Brooklyn. As always, like the subway rides over these bridges are very nice. The trains go pretty slow across, and then you have nice views of the river, specifically the East River and Manhattan and Brooklyn too. And then N and Q trains go across the bridge while the R and W trains continue into Lower Manhattan. So first, I'll be covering the N train, the N and Q trains. So their first stop after the bridge is DeKalb Avenue, which we mentioned on the 6th Avenue Lines episode, where you have DeKalb Market Hall, which is a massive underground food hall with a lot of vendors from a variety of different cultures. So if you like don't know what you want to eat, this place is great because they just have a little bit of everything.
What's your favorite cuisine, buddy?
My favorite cuisine.
Do you have one?
Ooh, probably Japanese cuisine.
Really?
Yeah, I like that they have a bit of everything and all like parts of it. Cause like the desserts, you got like mochi and you got mochi and like they have like good pastries too. And then for the main stuff, you can get sushi. You get like chicken teriyaki, stuff like that.
For me, I like Asian food a lot too, but I think I have to go Chinese food. If I'm being honest, but I also love Indian food a lot. But,
Yeah.
Those are probably my top two.
Yeah. And then another highlight that we did not mention in the 6th Avenue Lines episode for DeKalb Avenue. So if you're taking a Manhattan-bound B or Q train, you can look out the right side of the train after it departs DeKalb Avenue, and you can see the Mass Transit Scope, which is an art installation made up of 228 hand-painted panels set up on the platform of the abandoned Myrtle Avenue subway station. These panels are viewed through vertical slits and, which combined with the train's movement, it gives the illusion of a moving or animated image. So as the train's moving by, it looks like you're watching a little motion picture film, which I think is really cool. Yeah, one of the many artwork installations throughout the subway. And then the N and Q then go to Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center, which we mentioned also in the 6th Avenue Lines episode. You got the Barclays Center, which you can see a lot of concerts and sporting events. And also there's connections to Long Island Railroad trains to Long Island. So the N then splits from the Q and joins the R train, and the N train runs express down 4th Avenue and also shares tracks with the D train and also stops at 36th Street Station on 4th Avenue, which we mentioned in the 6th Avenue Lines episode, and then goes to 59th Street. So at 59th Street Station is the Basilica of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, which is a Roman Catholic church established in 1892 and is one of the largest churches in Brooklyn. So after 59th Street, the N splits from the R, then continues onto the Sea Beach line, which is set in an open trench, and then goes through the neighborhoods of Sunset Park, Borough Park, Bensonhurst, and Gravesend before terminating at Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue, which of course is home to Coney Island and all of its many attractions. So next is the Q train. The Q train, we mentioned that it splits from the N after Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. It runs with the B train along the Brighton line and passes through stops such as Prospect Park, Newkirk Plaza, Kings Highway, Sheepshead Bay, and Brighton Beach. Most of these are residential neighborhoods, but it also stops, as we said before, at Prospect Park. And then it also stops at down by the shore. It stops at Ocean Parkway and West 8th Street New York Aquarium, or you can obviously visit the New York Aquarium if you're into sea creatures, I guess. And then that's the last stop before it terminates at Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue. Also, as you might have noticed, there are 4 trains, or the D and... Yeah, there are 4 trains that go to Coney Island from Manhattan, and if you look on Google Maps, all of these pretty much have the exact same travel times, so it doesn't really matter which train you take. It more than likely depends on where you're leaving from in Manhattan, which train is fastest to get to Coney Island. So now we're just going to go back up the subway map a bit to the R and W train after they split from the N and Q at Canal Street. So their next stop is City Hall. So obviously we have City Hall Park, which is a vibrant green space in Lower Manhattan, and the New York City Hall, which is a complex that houses the mayor's office. There's also the Hall des Lumières, which is a digital arts center in the former building of the Emigrant Industrial Savings Bank. It has 2 large exhibition floors where they have basically turned the walls and ceilings into canvases for digital art. So it's a lot of like lights and projections onto these surfaces, and the experience is very, very immersive. So one of their current exhibits, as of May 22nd, 2023, is called Destination Cosmos, the Immersive Space Experience, and it was created with participation from NASA and a partnership with CNES, which is the French National Space Agency. So if you're really into space stuff, then this would be a really good exhibit for you to see. And there's also, around this area is also the African National Burial Ground National Monument. According to the National Park Service, it is, quote, the largest known excavated burial ground in North America for both free and enslaved Africans. And it was excavated during a construction project in the 1980s, and they found over 15,000 skeletal remains dating from the mid-1630s to 1795. So it's a very important historical site right in the center of downtown New York. So next is Cortlandt Street. This is another one of the many stations that serves the World Trade Center, the Oculus Mall, lots of cool shops and restaurants. It's a very nice, almost all white, like marbly interior.
I feel like it's like a spaceship almost when I'm inside of it, if that makes sense. It's like it's like really futuristic.
It's really futuristic. If you've seen like the design, I think it was actually the design of the exterior of the Oculus was supposed to be like a phoenix rising out of the ground to symbolize like New York recovering from 9/11. So it's a really cool building. And then it's also near the Brookfield Place shopping and office complex, which I have gone to a couple times, and it's pretty nice. It's right along the Hudson River. There's also a little like food court, mini food hall area up there. There's also near Cortlandt Street is also the Woolworth Building, which is an early skyscraper built in 1913 in the neo-Gothic style. It was once called the Cathedral of Commerce, and it was the tallest building in the world until 1930. Next up, we have Rector Street, which is near Trinity Church, which is a historic Episcopal parish, one of the oldest in North America. It's been active for over 300 years, since 1697, and the current building opened in 1846, and like the Woolworth Building, was constructed in the neo-Gothic style. It was also the tallest building in New York City until 1890. Some notable parishioners at Rector Street include George Washington, John Jay, and Alexander Hamilton, who was buried in the nearby Trinity Churchyard. Next up, we have Whitehall Street, South Ferry. So this is the southern terminus of the W train. There's also a connection to Whitehall Terminal, where you can take the Staten Island Ferry if, for some reason, you want to go to Staten Island. Rog, have you ever had a desire to go, if you're in Lower Manhattan, have you had that desire to go to Staten Island?
I can't say I have, Oliver, but hey, to each their own. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. The ferry ride also provides very nice views of the New York City skyline and New York Harbor. You can also board free ferries to Governor's Island, which is a lot of delightful outdoor activities such as biking. There's a hammock grove for relaxing. Fort J, which is a old fort designed to guard New York Harbor, and Slide Hill, which is my personal favorite. They have multiple slides there. One of those slides is 3 stories high and 57 feet long.
It's a long way down.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for all ages. Just a bit of warning that these slides they're kind of like stainless steel metal, so in the summer they can get a bit hot to the touch.
A bit toasty.
Just a little bit toasty. And you can also board ferries to the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island from nearby the Whitehall Street South Ferry station. So the R train is now unfortunately alone as the W train ended there. And then it crosses under the East River into Brooklyn via the Montague Street Tunnel. So it stops at J Street Metrotech, DeKalb Avenue, and Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center, which you have mentioned earlier. And then it runs local along the 4th Avenue line with the D and N trains through Park Slope, Greenwood Heights, and Sunset Park, making stops at 36th Street and 59th Street, among others, along the 4th Avenue line. Note that it will be local, so it's going to be making at least 4 or 5 stops between these stations. And then along 4th Avenue, the D splits after 36th Street, and the N splits after 59th Street. And then the R continues down south towards the southern point of Brooklyn, stopping at Bay Ridge Avenue, 77th Street, 86th Street, and Bay Ridge 95th Street, which is the current last stop of the R train. So Bay Ridge 95th Street actually wasn't supposed to be the end of the line. In the 1920s, there were plans to build a tunnel to Staten Island and connect this part of the line with the Staten Island Railway.
Well, that seems to be the episode. I thank you for listening, and I hope you found this informative, and we'll see you next time.